Star Wars fans rejoiced when it was reported that Boba Fett will be making an appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2. But even more reports have come out talking about other iconic Star Wars characters that will also be in The Mandalorian Season 2. Wait until you hear this. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button like you're fighting it for the right to rule over Mandalore, and let's get right into this video. Also, it's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the great moms out there, and I'm sure all of you are great. I just happen to have the best mom ever. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you. So yes, Temuera Morrison will be coming to The Mandalorian Season 2 to portray Boba Fett. That is absolutely epic and amazing, but it was just revealed in a new broadcast from Kessel Run Transmissions that other iconic Star Wars characters from animated shows will also be in The Mandalorian Season 2. In their video, Corey and Noah outlined several characters, including Rex and Sabine Wren, that will show up in The Mandalorian Season 2 along with Ahsoka Tano, as well as some interesting tidbits about their appearances. Now, Corey and Noah over at Kessel Run Transmissions are the gentlemen behind the big scoop about the Rebels sequel series, the new animated series coming from Dave Filoni that will be coming out later this year, according to them. Now, I've done my part to try to legitimize these guys for whatever I can do about it. Look, they're new on the scene. They haven't broken a lot of different stories, but I know for a fact that they have legitimate sources on this one, and I have heard similar things. They know what they're talking about, and, you know, it's funny because in their video, like, Corey and Noah are like, we're not professional scoopers, but this one we're very confident in. So they're not professional scoopers, but I know for a fact they have very good sources, and so I want to talk about what they said in their video and what they're saying their sources are telling them. And on a side note, I hope to have Corey and Noah on the channel and talk to them about the Rebels sequel. More specifically, look for that video hopefully coming out soon. So a couple of different things they go over in their video. Number one, Ahsoka will be joined with Sabine Wren and Rex in the show, but it will only be for a singular episode. It will be one episode that we see Ahsoka, and we will see Rex with her, and we will see Sabine Wren. They talked about how this is most likely being used to set up both the Rebels sequel series and the eventual Ahsoka Tano series if they do a singular series with her on Disney+. Interestingly, the bit about Sabine was actually corroborated by Grace Randolph. Grace Randolph, in her initial report about Ahsoka coming into the show, mentioned that she had heard from sources that Sabine would be joining with her again. And that was actually the only time that I had heard about Sabine actually showing up with Ahsoka until Corey and Noah corroborated that with their report yesterday. Now, all signs point to Temuera Morrison also playing the character of Rex. In fact, Jordan Mason over on Twitter, who is another reliable Star Wars scooper, teased that out on a tweet earlier today. I wonder if we'll have a scene where Boba Fett and Rex have a conversation and Temuera Morrison is playing both of them and just doing like totally different characters. That would be really interesting. I'm always fascinated when the same actor plays across from themselves. That would be really cool. Now, the biggest takeaway I had from this report, besides the fact that, of course, Rex and Sabine will be in it, is the fact that it's going to be only in a singular episode. I think there's a lot of effort being done to not steal the spotlight of The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and that whole initial cast from Season 1. When THR broke the scoop about Boba Fett, they put in that article that it's going to be a small role as well. It really feels like a lot of cool stuff is happening, but it's happening sort of parsed out. It's only meant to complement the show, and they don't want to take any spotlight away from the main character. And I like the speculation and reporting from Kessel Run Transmissions as far as how this appearance in The Mandalorian will potentially set up what they are doing in the Rebels sequel show. It's pretty clear that at the end of Rebels, after the epilogue, that Sabine is sort of recruited by Ahsoka to go search for Ezra Bridger. What's interesting is that means that Rex is likely with her as well. So it would be Sabine and Ahsoka and Rex. Seems like an awesome crew to me. And perhaps when we see them in The Mandalorian, they're just stopping at some space station, grabbing some supplies before they head off to go into sort of the unknown regions, or at least the outer core, to look for Ezra Bridger. What I am slightly confused about, though, is how this will go into an Ahsoka live action show. It almost feels like, to me, the Ahsoka show has to be completely different and perhaps take place in the timeline after the Rebels sequel show and after they eventually do find Ezra Bridger. And even though I'm slightly concerned as to how this is all going to fit together, as long as Dave Filoni's heavily involved in how it will actually all be produced, I'm confident that they won't mess up canon at all and it will all make sense. Now, initially when I heard a lot of this stuff, my head just started going into all the crazy places that this story could go, how cool it would be to have Sabine and the Mandalorian having a conversation, perhaps talking about the Darksaber, talking about the child, talking about all sorts of different things. But honestly, it makes more sense that if Sabine and Ahsoka are like really on their mission to go find Ezra, they can't just join up with the quest that the Mandalorian is on. But I do hope for some interesting things. I mean, Sabine's going to be wearing at least some Mandalorian gear, maybe even her armor and helmet. And if she's in an area where the Mandalorian is also there, they're going to notice each other. Mandalorians are pretty stinking rare, and I'm sure both parties would be interested in finding another Mandalorian. So I do hope that Sabine has at least some kind of interaction with Din Djarin. The Darksaber itself was last seen in Star Wars Rebels when Sabine gives it to Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan, by the way, also a character rumored to be appearing in The Mandalorian Season 2, and so it would be very interesting to see how all of that fit together. Moff Gideon, does he have some beef with Sabine? Does Sabine know of Moff Gideon? We're not entirely sure, but there's a bunch of threads there that could be pulled upon. Again, I think it's important that this mission with Ezra is the big thing for them so that we don't just get the spotlight completely taken away and it becomes the Ahsoka, Sabine, Rex, Bo-Katan show. But it's really interesting that there's so many possibilities for those stories to overlap. Now, when it comes to Boba Fett, my gut is telling me this will be a different episode than Ahsoka and Sabine showing up. I mean, if you throw all of that stuff in one episode, it's really going to muddy the waters and just be very distracting for fans. And not to mention that, like, Boba has had some experiences with Ahsoka, and that whole situation would just be too weird. Like, multiple people that have Mandalorian helmets that are varying degrees of actually being a Mandalorian all in the same scene and episode, that might get a little wacky. So I assume that the Boba Fett episode will be a different episode. Now, THR reported that he's going to have a small role. Again, they don't want to take away anything, but man, I'm really hoping we get some crazy stuff with Boba and Din Djarin. I'd like to have a little bit of the explanation for why Boba is not considered a Mandalorian. Does he have any actual history with the Mandalorians? What's up with that? That's an interesting thread that I hope they play on. But there's also this opportunity for Boba and his connections to Kamino, and the fact that the child has connections to Kamino to be the thread that they pull on. What if it's not so much about their Mandalorian ties together, but the fact that they were both products of Kamino? I mean, Boba just showing up already answers a lot of questions for fans. He did get out of the Sarlacc pit, and depending upon what shape we see him in, we can sort of venture to guess all the cool things that he has done. But I really want Boba to do some badass stuff, man, and to have some impact on the story. So if there's a way they can do that without overshadowing or shadowing what's happening with Din Djarin and the child, that's what I'm looking for. And so I think it either has to tease out a little bit of what's going on with Mandalore and the Mandalorian's relationship with Boba and Jango before him, or the connection with the child and Kamino and Boba and Kamino. I'm hoping that one of those things is happening. And if it really was Boba at the end of the 5th episode of season 1 and he gets Fennec Shand, then maybe Boba is just now on the lookout for Mando and the child. Maybe he goes to deliver on that bounty and he whoops up on the Mandalorian, but then he sees the child, instantly understands that maybe it's a clone somehow, and then that like brings in this whole other element. I don't know. There's a lot of different interesting things they can do with Boba, but I hope he's not just this background little piece of flavor. I understand they don't want him to overshadow things, but like, come on, guys. Give me some good Boba, would you? And now let's shout out Thor Smith. Yes, indeed. Aquaman's dad was named Tom Curry. And Tamara Morrison played him in Aquaman, so shout out to you, Thor. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what actress is rumored to be playing Sabine in The Mandalorian Season 2? Side note, she is confirmed to be in the 2nd season. A lot of people think she's going to be playing Sabine. Who am I talking about? Answer that question in the comment section below. Make sure you let us know what you thought about this video in the comment section below. And if you absolutely need more nerdy content, click or tap some of those videos or come on by our live streaming channel where we live stream every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to support us and get some behind-the-scenes content, consider joining the list of amazing names you see below and check out our Patreon. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.